Good morning and welcome to week 3 of the Now What global gathering on the art of being fully human in a time of crisis. This is Ben Roberts, lead convener and host for Now What, and wanted to just tell you a little bit about what's coming up this week and thank everyone who's been involved in supporting, designing, convening, participating in Now What for the first 2 weeks. We're looking here at the homepage for the Now What Global Gathering at nowwhat2020.com, which is your main place for finding information about all things Now What. Coming up in a little over an hour will be the first of the Now What cafes. And let's just take a look at that, the page for the cafe right now, which contains a little overview, and also we have the new menu for the cafe this week, which features standard items like the orientation to Now What and Ask the Now What Oracle, a new item on co-creating the cafe where you can learn about how the cafe is being run. Maybe some of you want to help support the hosting of the cafe or add new items to the menu in future sessions, and invite friends and maybe other people you want to meet to join you. We had a grief circle the last 2 sessions. We're kind of broadening and expanding that to an empathy circle. We have many people within Now What who are highly skilled in empathic listening and the hosting of spaces like that. So perhaps some of them will show up, but I think it's a process anyone can do with a little bit of care. COVID-19 sense making returns from the previous 2 weeks with an invitation to use the liberating structures what, so what, now what process. We have a special session this Wednesday for kids, play date with Danny and Silas. That's my daughter and her toddler, and she has a horse farm, so you can do art with her as well as visit her horses. And as always, you're welcome to add your own items to the cafe. So please come and join us. The cafe takes place at 4 different times each week. This is in Eastern time, but if you open up the calendar, which is linked to on the Now What website, it should show things in your own time. So we have a morning session East Coast time on Mondays, evening on Tuesdays, afternoon Wednesdays, and early morning on Thursdays. And hope to see many of you there. Let's see, just a quick update on participation. We're getting close to 260 people on the Now What map now, and more than that have registered. Not everybody's choosing to show up here. And you can see all of this orange. These are people saying they want to meet other people. So you can pick anyone on the map, by the way, just click on them. You'll see the profile that they've provided if they've gone and done that. Over here on the right is this little focus button. And this is how you can see just particular information about one person. So you can also click on yourself and look for whether there are any orange lines coming to you. Orange indicates somebody that someone wants to meet. So here's David, who's shown up and said, I want to meet all kinds of folks here. Maybe you want to see if you're one of the people he's looking to check out and make a date to meet in the cafe. Lots more is possible on the map, and by the end of this week, we should also be showing a view that includes different engagement streams and the possibility of forming home groups, which is something that I know many of you have indicated an interest in. We hope to get that going this week. Some other new items that are coming up on the calendar. We now have a morning meditation session. Well, it's morning in Australia, where Joy Foley will be hosting these. It's 5 p.m. on Wednesday nights for me, which is 7 a.m. Thursday morning for Joy. So depending on where you are in the world, it'll be different times. Joy is going to be offering these for the next 3 Thursdays. That's the newest addition to our Now What calendar. Other items to highlight. Let's go over to the Now What invitations blog and take a look at some of the things that are framed as engagement streams that are ongoing activities during the course of Now What. We have the first of the Bridges That Go Everywhere, or the Fine Art of Bridge Building sessions, hosted by Stephanie Mines of Climate Change and Consciousness, coming up later today. That's Monday, and another session on Wednesday, again, depending on where you are in the world. And we're also launching the collaborative funding for a Leap Forward engagement with 2 calls this week. That's hosted by the Thriving Resilient Communities Collaboratory, Leslie Meehan and myself as stewards. And we're interested in how to innovate in the realm of philanthropy and impact investing to support what's known as disaster collectivism, ways to respond to the immediate needs of this crisis and at the same time support the emergence of longer term structures that are regenerative and healing and part of a new paradigm for the human presence on this planet. We also are really excited to have the second of our virtual field trips coming up. This is this Saturday with Sarah Abbott of the University of Regina in Saskatchewan, where she's been running a course on art and climate change. And her students were planning to offer this as an in-person, exhibit to showcase all the work they've been doing. And we were going to just, drop in virtually a few of us to this in-person event. Now our offering has become the event. So the whole exhibit will be done via Zoom, and we're delighted to be sponsoring and co-hosting that. Really excited to see what the students have come up with. And then there'll be a chance to talk with the students as well after they've given their presentations. Much more going on as well. Again, the Now What website is your main guide to all these things. If you're new, we now have this little get started guide that takes you through some various things. There are links to all the different tools that we're using to get to the calendar, our text-based space for conversation featuring Sutra, still looking to get some things going with this voice platform soon, as well as some ideas for things you can do in person. So Now What does not just have to happen in front of a glass screen, and stay tuned for that. Here's how you get to that network map we showed you. Another link to the calendar we were looking at. The Spotify playlist for music is really delicious, and I'll be doing an update on that soon, but we already have over 50 songs on there, and I believe more have probably come in from people that have registered and put suggestions up in their profile. We're on Slack doing organizing as part of the Now What Collective, the group of people that are coming together to help design, convene, and host Now What. If you're interested in being part of the collective, you can join Slack, or you can just respond to the invitation that's on the collective page. And you know what, let's just take a moment here as I wrap up to take a look at this and thank all of these people who are showing up essentially as co-creators and co-owners of this space. So we're up to now well over 40, well, just about not quite 40 people who have expressed an interest in being part of the collective. And if you're interested as well, you can here's the link to request a personal invitation conversation, and here you can find a link to see the commitments that these people have made, or most of them have offered that. Some are still coming in for how they plan to show up as members of the collective. Again, just back to the homepage briefly to show you a few more of the links that are here to find your way around. We have a LinkedIn group for sharing invitations to Now What and some of the outcomes, ditto with Facebook. We are on Twitter a little bit, and here with the YouTube link, and you can also get to this under the Harvest tab under Participate. We're now harvesting some of what's coming out of the sessions that we've had so far and other forms of engagement. So that's done in text form. If there are any reflections you would like to offer on your Now What experience, that would be most welcome. We call those jewels, and there's a form to submit them, and you can see what's been submitted here. Or if you have notes from any of your conversations in Now What so far, you can add them to this Google Drive folder. Other items we're collecting are resources, written materials, articles, posts, poetry, humor. We're submitting those here, and you can view what's been submitted here. And in people's individual profiles on the network map, you can see a lot of that. We're harvesting short video clips, and in some cases, the entire recording of a conversation that's happening through Now What. And you can find those on the YouTube channel here, or through that little YouTube link I was showing you on the main page of Now What. And finally, here's another link to the Streams of Engagement Now What playlist. So with that, thank you very much for your time and attention. And I look forward to seeing you for the rest of this week. I have a sense, just as a parting thought to share, that we may be moving into a more challenging time for ourselves, our communities, our loved ones, and the planet. The first 2 weeks of Now What, at least here in the U.S. in the Northeast, we've seen a surge in the number of cases and deaths and the challenge to our healthcare system as a result of the virus, but we haven't quite peaked yet. And other places around the world, it's still rising. Then we're seeing, how Italy and other places are dealing with next steps, and it's just it's a crazy time, obviously, and a very difficult time for so many people. Um, and for those of us that are privileged to be able to connect in this way, who are not in immediate and dire need or on the front lines of being of service to those who are, whether that's from a health perspective or an economic one. And perhaps that economic impact is even more serious than the health one for many people at this point. Our hearts go out to you. And for those of us that are privileged to gather in this way, finding ways to be of service in this time of crisis, I think will increasingly be a focus of our work together, as well as ways to support one another with the challenges that we're all facing. It's not easy, perhaps, for any of us, although it's certainly far easier for some. So thank you again for listening and for showing up in all the ways that you do. And it's a privilege to be in this place together with you.